All right, everyone, welcome back. We have our esteemed panel from the Saber Guild here. The Saber Guild, if you haven't gotten a chance to actually go see them or go to a con to watch them perform, they are incredible. It is one of my favorite things to do at Star Wars Celebration is to watch all the choreographed events and fight scenes. These are sabers hitting sabers. You don't want to do this with a toy saber. But I love watching them, and I love watching the time that they all put in here. I'm going to introduce you to all of our panel here. We have Randy and Linda Ward. We have Charles Wright.
Yep.
We have Ed Brunson and Nikki Webb. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Randy and Linda, we're going to start with you. Would you tell me your role, and could you go why you joined?
Well, like you said, my name is Randy. I'm the local director of Dathomir Temple, and it serves the Maryland and DC metropolitan area, which pretty much if it's serviced by the Beltway and or the metro system, it's kind of in our temple in DC, so the DC metro area. I really joined because I was a member of the Rebel Legion first and had my Jedi I was working on and everything, and my wife wanted to get involved, and she's been the martial artist, and I've always been the showman. Both Box and I are band nerds from the back in the day, so performing is in our blood. So it was kind of a way to mix that of Star Wars and costuming and performing all at the same time.
Yeah. My name is Linda. I'm married to Randy over here. I've been the local costume consular this past year. Nikki is now our current local costume consular. And I joined, I started tripping with Randy and started learning the costuming side of it. And I really wanted to fight just because I do have a little bit of martial arts background, so it's kind of in my blood. And so we started looking and decided to do the Saber Guild thing. And I like to perform and be on stage, have fun. So it was a way that we could both combine our passions together and do it together. So that's why I joined.
Great. And Charles, on to you.
Okay. I'm Charles Wright. I am the local stage director and for Dathomir. And the reason why I joined was I was just like the others. I was in another costuming group. I was in Rebel Legion, and I'm also, you know, I started making lightsabers before I started making my costumes. And just I was in another lightsaber group before I joined Saber Guild. It was a local organization, and just rolled in from there. I'm very creative, and I like making the fights that we make and seeing things progress. And that's it.
Fantastic. Ed?
Hey, my name's Ed Brunson. I am currently the assistant local director for the Saber Guild Dathomir Temple here in Maryland. My duties are basically floating around to help everyone do their duties as best I can and keep things in order as best we can, and encourage and support the whole council and motivation of the troops. I'm a Star Wars fan. I was there. I'm 10 years old in '77, and I've been a super fan forever. And then I started realizing I'm getting older and I don't care what people think, and I started dressing up. And then once I started dressing up, I ran into Charles. And Charles said to me, there's people who fight and dress up at the same time. And I said, oh, really? And so I started playing with some of the local groups, and then the local groups ended up with just Charles and me and Randy and Linda and a few others trying to keep it going. And then we started a Saber Guild petition, and then we had to work our way up slowly but surely to build the temple that we have now. And I guess that sums up my interest, as well as I love performing, and it's good health workout. And the kids, you gotta love the kids, yeah.
Fantastic. Nikki, on to you.
So I'm Nikki Webb, and I started in all of this costuming world in the Mandalorian Mercs. And then I've always wanted to be in some of the other clubs, if not all of them. And I got a lightsaber, and I said, well, I guess there's a club to actually play with these, use them appropriately. So let's try it. And I do like performing. I'm a figure skater, so I'm not completely shy when it comes to, doing a performance. I do have a little bit of martial arts. I took karate for like 2 years. So
Fantastic. No, I have a little performing in me, although I haven't joined you guys yet. I used to do marching band and drum corps, so it definitely was a little of that too. So let's move on. So you guys are one of the newest of the Star Wars clubs to the area. Would you tell us about the club and what you do? Detail some of your performances, about the family locally, because that's one of our big topics this weekend, and then the relationship with our sister clubs. We're going to start this time with Ed, if that's okay.
Okay, I'm going to definitely have Randy back me up if I'm incorrect about anything, but basically, this is an international organization, and we finally were able to get a Maryland chapter. It takes a little while to get it going. You need a minimum of like 5 performance ready costumes, and we're part of the Galactic Senate of the whole Star Wars family, along with all the other official Star Wars groups. That gets us to be partnering with them in events and charity, which is what we do as an organization, as well as promote camaraderie with Star Wars fans all over the world.
Fantastic. Since you mentioned Randy, let's go to Randy then.
Yeah. So as Box mentioned, we've been at Temple for about a year now. We went through the formation process of finding members and getting everybody approved. It went from a baseball field to a club to different practice spaces. We've kind of grown. Went from 5 of us practicing last year to 18 of us in 1 year's time. So Saber Guild is the standoff group from the other sister clubs. The other sister clubs' charters say you cannot do combat with the lightsabers. You can carry them, you can take photos with them, but you can't clash them when you're in a public appearance. Saber Guild, that's what we do. We are a costumed performance organization. So when we do the type of performances, and this can vary, we will do small performances, small little pocket fights, to large stage show productions with multiplayers. The ones you see at Celebration are the larger stage show productions. We will do things from large conventions to big theaters down to community events in the neighborhoods. We will do our kids lightsaber training. We'll talk about that later here in a bit probably. So where we differ from the other groups is that we get into costume. We have screen accurate Jedi and Sith characters. We go take it to the next level and add that performance aspect of it. So locally, yes, we're the newest kid on the block in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. However, everybody here is a member of the other clubs, and I say clubs plural because I think all of us are in multiple clubs, if not all of them. And globally, Saber Guild right now, as of about a month ago now, have 35 temples worldwide. We stretch from United States, South America, Europe, Asia. We're all over the place, and we are a global family. And something that kind of sets us apart, there's an esprit de corps that exists in Saber Guild that the other clubs, while they have it, the fact that we have to practice every week, we get together and we practice every week. And we'll talk about practice and performance probably here in a little bit. But we practice together every week. So we have a camaraderie and esprit de corps that is so awesome. We are like one giant family. We go out to dinner after practice every week just because we do that. It's a Sunday night dinner we have with our Saber Guild family because that's what we do. When it comes to the relations of our sister clubs, obviously we put on the show. So we bring that stage presence, that interactive activity that is more than just taking photos. We basically we put on a show that brings people to the booths to raise money for charities, that brings people interested in the other clubs. We work alongside them, and like I said, we bring that stage presence and that show.
Fantastic. Charles, what do you have to answer to add on to what Randy's talking about?
Basically the same thing. I mean, I will say though, we are technically, this is the second incarnation of Saber Guild in Maryland. Back in 2013, me and several other people actually had a version, but for some reason we just couldn't get the cohesion right. And then, what was it, about 2 years ago, Randy, Linda, and Box and I just got together and was like, this needs to happen. And we talked it over the phone, getting a meeting together, and we went down to, what was the Starbucks at?
Starbucks in Dunkirk, Maryland. It was the point
Yes.
where all of us were in the middle.
Yes. So we met at the Starbucks and we said, we got to make this. These are the guidelines and all this stuff. And it all just started rolling together from there. And we just had more of a cohesion than the original version.
Yeah. I think a lot of that, Charles, came back. So Lynn and I were the only two approved members of Saber Guild when we went to Chicago. Ed was there working on his costume, but me, Linda, and Ed were in Chicago, and we got to experience that global Saber Guild family. And Boxes, I guess that's the best word for it, Box, is that we were welcomed and loved so much in that global family. And I mean, I think it clicked with the three of us going, we need to stop talking about this and we need to build this thing. And
yeah, we got the gleam in our eyes, and they call me Box is my nickname. I know, so you can keep calling me Box, everyone. Also, what is the inception date of the first temple? What's the age of Saber Guild? Randy?
The Saber Guild organization was like 2006, started in Southern California from the groups there. So Temple Prime in Southern California was the first group.
All right. And Nikki, anything to contribute to that?
No, just the whole family part of it. I actually met them. We were at a convention, had kind of a group space. We were tabled close together, and I picked up a lightsaber. I bought one, and I walked over. I was like, "Can I use this in this club?" And they were like, "Yes." And then the next event we had, I was, putting on my Mando, and they're like, "So, we're forming a temple. We'd like for you to join. If you're interested." I was like, "Yeah, sure, okay." And it's a pretty awesome group.
I completely agree. I mean, we all get to watch the lightsaber combat. I remember watching 4, 5, and 6 and really enjoying myself to seeing it, but then watching like the prequels and seeing like what it could actually be. Especially episode 1 and 2, which leaves a lot to the lightsaber lore, especially with the prequels, with all the new movies, with everything coming out as canon, with even building your own lightsaber now at Savvy's. Could we go over some of the lightsaber lore? We're going to start with Charles. I think I see a lightsaber there hanging on a belt, but if you could start with construction, requirements for the club, and the do's and don'ts for a Saber Guild saber, please.
Well, the Saber Guild lightsabers, they cannot be, the plastic toys that you can buy at, the big brand stores. And also preferably not the ones that you get at Disney. They have to be made for actual combat grade. There's several places that you can get them online, or you can build your own. As far as construction goes, preferably like an aluminum hilt. Yep. And we use a polycarbonate blade for like what Box is showing right there. It's basically the same stuff that they make riot shields out of, bulletproof, glass for cars, stuff like that. So they take a pretty good whacking. If you go with electronics, this is basically the guts of a lightsaber. This is the LED where the light comes out of. This is actually set up for sound, so there is like a little sound card in there. There's a resistor to regulate the power. Your battery pack with a speaker attachment on it. And that all goes inside the hilt, along with connecting it to like a switch.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the lore of the lightsaber is that little crystal that's on the inside. And power just goes through it. And, I mean, nobody really knows exactly how it's supposed to work. But just power goes through that crystal and, creates that iconic blade and that nice little snap hiss sound.
Fantastic. Ed, since you're showing off, let's see your saber, and if you could go over a little of the technical details for us.
That was for me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, adding to what Charles is saying, sabers can run. You could try to make one yourself. I guess the cheapest one I've seen, a $20 blade and a $20 flashlight and a good bunch of clamps from Home Depot. And there you go. It has a light, it works, you can hit with it. And then it goes all the way to how much you want to do with it. And Randy's going to show off next with his. I'm going to just introduce mine. This is a Vader's Vault. It's a thinner than most. And this is their version of the Mace Windu, which is my character that I do the most. And this has just one color, but I can change it to other colors, but it doesn't have much audio capabilities as some others do. And this one was about $450.
Thank you. Randy, again, since you've been called, let's see your collection here, sir.
I'll jump on a couple things. So when you talk about the saber requirements for the club, Charles hit on they have to be heavy grade, they have to be durable with the heavy carbonate blades on it. Something else we try to advise to new members: one, if you want to come join our club, come visit us, come attend a practice. We have loaners. The first box talks about how cheap it is to make one. The first commercially one that is ready combat grade could probably be an Ultra Sabers. You can get in there for maybe $100, 100 to 120 if you want one commercially off the shelf, ready to go. And then it's like a car. How many options do you want on it? Do you want the F-150 or do you want the S-Class Benz? It's like, what do you want? So something else we also advise to our members. So everybody should know what that is. It's the Graflex that Anakin / Luke / Rey used. This one in particular is a Disney Parks Skywalker Reforged. Beautiful hilt, great for cosplaying, great for displaying, great for photo ops. However, if you're trying to do spin, tricks, fighting, dueling on that one, you have all these things that hang out to the side. It's going to turn your hand into Swiss cheese. So it may look, there's one that's out there. It's one of the Revens, and there's one that's one of the Malga sabers. They have these protruding parts in there, and literally it will tear into your hand. So yes, it's pretty, but you get into the ones that are a little bit more contoured. They're lighter, they're more balanced for performance reasons. See, we're all having our sabers here to show off. So this one right here, I picked this one in particular. This is a saber trio. They're out of Malaysia. Are all aircraft grade aluminum. Pretty much all of them are made that way. I picked this one because where I hold it based upon training is right there. That's the choke point of the saber right there. It's also very balanced. Then talking about the electronics, Charles mentioned the LEDs. Some have the LED emitter here. This one is called a neopixel. So there are sabers, lights that go all the way down the saber. The ones you get at Sabi's are also neopixels. However, they're not heavy grade. This one is. And it has that nice effect where it glows and then retracts and extends. And Linda has her fancy one here.
Yeah, this is my Sith saber. And this is, I wanted to make sure when I bought this one that this one wasn't going to cut my hand up because I was a little worried here. But since my gripping point is here, I don't hold it back here just because of balance. But my gripping point here, it's not going to cut up my hand in any way. But then there's a trick too, is if you do have one and it's cutting up your hand, you can always add gloves. It will help protect your hands a little bit as well. Yeah, and this one has a day blade on it. These are pretty cool to use, especially during the day in the sunlight, because it really helps show the color of your blade on what it's supposed to be. So, and it's good for a distance too, so they can really tell what color the blade is.
Yeah, in the middle of the day, the day blades are great because you just can't see what color it is if you just got the standard white blade.
Yeah. And realize some of our performances are sporting events, so you're looking down at the 50-yard line or the third base line, and you can't tell.
Right. Right.
And Box, is that the one that we broke at practice?
Yeah, this is it.
Nikki has the coolest ones.
I was gonna say, Nikki, we're keeping you for last, and I can't wait to see yours.
The Tonka, I picked it up and I was like, this is kind of cool because I wanted to do Maris Brood, but I changed my mind and just went with the Sith. So it's interesting. The leadership, when I started, just kind of said, okay, well, go for it. But it's cool. It's fun.
I love the look of it.
Classes. She took classes to learn it.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
She came in and it was like me and Charles look at each other and like, well, I'm bow staff trained. Charles and Ed have had sword classes. I'm like, I don't know what to do there. And we're like, maybe you could go take like a self-defense class or something with like a nightstick. I don't know how to do that.
Hey, Nicole, show them your Tonfas real good again. Show them both of them. Show them. That's some new stuff right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tonfa.
Yeah. Those are cool.
Oh, that's amazing. That's incredible. Yeah, I was gonna say it's this beauty of a night. How is the balance on that blade, if I may, Nikki?
Well, the blade's really short. The whole hilt is pretty heavy. So it swings around pretty easy. Not bad.
No, very cool, very cool. Yeah, because I got to see Ed's sword. His is very nice and long and well balanced. Same thing for Randy's. And then, like I said, I start to see Linda's, and it looks like it's going to be a little more off, but then it's compensated for it. So it's really great to see these designs and how they're coming in. And I agree. I love to like I said, go up and see your collections and see what's hanging on the belts, or to see you showing off and handing over your treasured saber sometimes just so we can oogle it for a hot 5 minutes. At least that was obviously before today, but no, it's fantastic.
They actually have lightsaber nunchucks.
Is that they have approved lightsaber nunchucks?
Well, I don't know about approved. I haven't. They're probably more of a hazard to me than they are the other person.
Yeah, I feel like I would lose every limb I have if I were to even try. Moving on, so let's talk about the costuming. Nikki, we're going to go with you first. Could you talk about the submission approval process, the costume standards with the other clubs? I know that I don't like moving a lot when I'm in my crewman because that flight suit, even though I can sit, it's not a favorite. But I can't imagine trying to do anything that you guys do with it. And then any considerations for safety and performance. I was talking with Randy before, and I said, how many fingers have you guys just accidentally whacked and, had to smart it off? So if you could go into that, thanks.
Well, I'm not going to say anything about that. No, I know during practice, like we recommend, especially if you're new, sometimes even if you're a little more seasoned, to wear gloves, like even just work gloves, just to give a little bit of protection. You can get approved with gloves. So there's that point. When we practice, like before a show, we practice with our belts on, so you can get used to having to move with, because the belts are at least 2 inches thick. And that's not what a lot of people wear. We wear it a little bit higher than you would wear for your pants. So we do have to take that, Yes, and the obi. So there's a lot around the midsection, and if you have
Pouches.
choreographed a really active fight, you got to get used to that, and the boots too. You got to wear your boots. But the app process, they want as many, it seems like as many pictures as possible. You stay in contact. Well, I stayed in contact with Linda, but you would stay in contact with your LCC. And I would say if you're going anything outside of a generic Jedi and Sith, like any of the extras, I went sleeveless. You want to submit photos to your LCC so that they can check and make sure that you're on the right track, so you don't finish the whole costume and then it's like, oh no, that's not right, you can't do that at all, that's the wrong color. There's colors that you have to, color rules that you have to follow. But then to do the app process, you submit photos front, back, left, right, up close to your belt, your sabers, your boots. If you have any, like I said, anything extra, they usually want to see details on that.
Great. Charles, we'll go to you because you have one right behind you, which is a beautiful, kit, if I may. Could you go into some of the colors and the costumes part you see, both the light and the dark, because you guys aren't just good guys, you're also some of the bad guys. Really go into some of that for us. Thanks.
There is actually a color palette that we go by, so that way you don't mistake a Jedi from a Sith, of course. You know, you want to have that portrayal on the stage of, so that way you're not confusing who's good, who's bad kind of thing. So there is a different color palette between Jedi and Sith, and what you can kind of portray it with. I actually have with me the Dathomir Bible, and we actually have the costume standards right here. And there is just this, just a whole lot of information here, I will say. But we got, color palettes for the Jedi. They're all basically earth tones. No mismatching with like darker colors like what the Sith have, where they have more reddish and black and gray, where the Jedi have more browns and beiges and stuff like that.
Fantastic. So if you're doing Mace Windu, Ed, then your costume must be earth tones, because I did love that costume in the movies.
Well, my point to wrap it all around is, if you're going to go for a face character, not only is it tough to get that face character in organizations before, like Rebel Legion and Bible First, but the Saber Guild makes it even more stringent. That really, the costume standard for a face character is to the highest degree. And I would just wrap that around. All of the costume standards are very tight, to the inch, to the half inch. So my costume, Mace Windu, everyone calls me Mace Windu when I'm in it. It looks so authentic. But to them, they would critique things to a point where it could frustrate you if you're trying to do a face character. That's all I'm gonna say. Go with the generic first, get in there, and then if you want to go face character, fine. And so, yeah, that would be my only point. And when you go face character, the details of the little things make your costume more expensive. So basically, I got $500 in pouches.
Yeah, that definitely would be, if they're all leather pouches, I hear you on that. I'm not a leather worker, so I look one out online, let me tell you. Well, Randy, how about you guys? I don't actually know if you're a good guy or a bad guy. Same thing, Linda, if you could go into that on your side.
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump in on Box's Mace Windu. So went through numerous cycles of getting him approved on that one, but it was the little detail here, little detail there. But when the final thing came out and we saw you in person at the first time, we're all like, dang, that's nice. The final with everything, all the small touches in place, that costume is just freaking amazing. The Mace Windu is spot on, perfect. And it's one of those things in all the clubs, when you get critique back from the judges or the consulars, it's like, I don't get it. But then when you do the fixes they tell you to go do and you put it on, you go, oh, I get it now. So to answer your question directly, I actually have multiple costumes. I'm Sith and Jedi, but I'm going to defer most of the rest of the questions over to Linda, who is our outgoing local costume consular, who has dealt with 24 costume approvals in our temple, getting people approved. So I end up with the rest of her.
Well, I have, to answer your question, I have both characters. I have a Sith and Jedi. I have, I think, 3 different Jedi costumes. One I like to wear more if I'm going to be getting really, really dirty. I wear the darker one. And if I have an event that I'm going to and I'm not going to get as dirty, I'll probably use a lighter one. I also can jump over to my Sith character as well. It just depends on which one I really want to play. It may depend on the fight pairing too. If Charles needs somebody because he's got too many Jedi, then I can jump on and say, hey, I'm a Sith. Or if he's too Sith heavy, I can jump on and say Jedi. So I'm both characters either way. I don't really care. I think I gravitate more to Jedi because I think it matches more of my character personality. I really have to pull some acting skills out of me whenever I play Sith because it's a little bit more challenging for me. But if there was any costume stuff, I would say my most important thing to do is please get with your LCC for that temple before you build anything, before you buy anything, just because they're going to help guide you on what you can get, what you can't get. And they're really your go-to person to help you in your costuming thing. It doesn't matter if it's generic Sith, generic Jedi. They're gonna help you out. And also whenever you send your pictures to them, because they're kind of the liaison between you and the judges, when you send the pictures to them, they're going to help you kind of really narrow it down on costumes as far as where your tabards are hitting, if they're too long, if they're too short, if your sleeves are too long or too short, because a lot of it on the critiquing is going to be more for your safety standards, because they want you to go out on stage and they want you to be, looking good, but they also want you to be safe with your costume, because if your sleeves are too long, you're going to get that hilt hung up in that sleeve and it's gonna go bad. So that's what I could say about that.
Yeah, so consider the LCC equivalent to the Rebel Legion's membership person or the 501st GML. They kind of serve a similar role to make sure that local costumes are meeting standards before they submit them up to the larger Legion level or detachment level.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the LCC does.
Fantastic.
And I will also add, I have the distinction of being one of the only masked characters in our temple. So, Master Deeb.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
I've actually performed with him on not an easy task. We had to make sure that I had visibility, so that I don't trip over myself, I don't injure the other person. I actually had to provide a video of me in the mask performing a routine. So
that is incredible. I didn't even know you could do masks, but just amazing.
Thank you.
And then we're going to get into some of the practice and performance now. So this question is going to be for Ed. Could you go over some of the basic choreography and some of the saber techniques, the aspects of rehearsing, the story, and the production of it all? Because that's what I'm really interested in. That's what I love to see when you guys are at Celebration.
You know what? I'll since we're a good team, I'll take one little piece of this because we can all talk to pieces of this. And I think Charles would really be able to talk deeper on the creation of the choreography level. I will talk more on the performance aspect and training aspect. We have rules about how many fights you're going to have to do, and how many times you can't miss so many practices before the date, and not letting your partner down once you have a partner. We also have different forms that we've learned, and that also the whole Saber Guild nationally, internationally has learned that we can all do different forms together. And that encourages your creativity and your style in your character, because you can do forms in the style of your character. So then when you're fighting, you're staying in the style of your character. And I'll just leave it there. I think Charles really would be the next guy to talk about that.
Okay, Charles, passing it to you then.
Okay. Well, as far as the fights go, the creation of the fights, it's really interesting to see, because right now we're doing a little thing where we have people coming up with their own fights. Some of the stuff that I have done in the past is explained that it's always good to come up with a few really cool moves during the fight and then chain it together. I mean, that's how, because when we first started out, I created all of the fights, and I just let everybody put their own spin on it. You know, a lot of the fights are just basically single lightsaber to single lightsaber. And Randy and Linda, when they went to Celebration, they added on to it their saber staffs. So, and it came out really awesome. They even added on a few other things to make it, you know, longer and give it a little more pizzazz, like the disarms and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know what else to necessarily say. I mean, there is just this process to coming up with the fights, and it can be personal to people, you know, how they come up with it. Each individual person, you know, establishes how they make their own story. And I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Let me piggyback on that, and then I think Randy really would go next after this. But I would say, you know, we have techniques to get people trained, to get them better fighters. And that Charles has that book we saw, the Holy Grail, has all hit points and techniques, and you can fight with letters, like I'm hitting you with an A and I'm blocking you with a Z, or you can do points. This is point 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's a whole system just to get you into the whole mode of having that oneness with your body and the saber. And then your choreography adds to your training, is kind of how I would say it. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm actually going to cut to Nikki here. So, Nikki, what would you say your form is with your lightsaber? Because, you know, I know Mace's form was very specific to Mace, but where does your form kind of come in?
I don't know, honestly.
Well, no, it sounds great because, like, it's personal to you, though, is what you're making it up as you go, and you're helping them help you.
Yeah, I just kind of, when I get paired with my partner, I try to make it easy for them, because the thing I realized after about 5 minutes was the difference between having two, because I have two tonfa, like, you know, so one on each hand. And whenever you're dual wielding, if somebody's not used to that, they can't right away figure out where you're going to hit them from. Like, you could hit them from this side or this side with this hand or this hand, or you could go across, or so. I guess I don't have a specific form. I just try to make it work as a team.
What looks cool.
Great. And then Randy and Linda, if you could kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah, I'll let Linda jump in and then I'll wrap it up here. So.
I would just have to say, like, when you go to practice and stuff, and you're paired up with your partner, it's good just to be there and go over your fight. Usually Charles is great. He prints off this whole sheet and it's in color, and it has like where the striking points are, if it's left or if it's right. So you take time, you kind of read through that and get familiar with it, you and your partner, and then you kind of stand up and you kind of start slowly going through the movements to kind of get, you know, the rhythm and kind of figure out where you're doing. And you do that for a little bit wearing gloves, because gloves are very important. And then
I only broke one of your fingers.
once you kind of have it down a little bit and you're really with your partner, you can kind of start picking the speed up. And then once you get your speed going, then you can kind of start putting in your acting skills and all that good stuff. So I think practice is just a lot of just trying to figure out, you know, what your fight is doing. Also, we always have like when somebody's brand new to the temple and they've never, you know, used their saber before, we start them off a little bit, you know, as far as saying like, here's the certain, we call it sombrata. It's kind of our basic fight. This is how you learn your points and where you're striking. So we kind of like introduce them to that and get them into, you know, a slow kind of, this is how it works. They partner up and then they start learning that. And then it gets a little bit faster and a little bit faster. And then once that fight is up to speed, it looks like a whole fight. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Thanks to Charles on that one. So, and then we have the forms as well. We have different forms that our temple learns, and that also helps, you know, teach them how to swing and block. And so they kind of get used to the movements. But as far as like a fight that they might be doing with their partner, I think just, you know, just working out with your partner, like Nicole's Tampas, that's pretty different because her blade is a little bit shorter. So you're going to have to come in a little bit closer than you would if you had somebody with a staff. So, yeah, so you get a little bit closer. So you want to really start out slower when you're learning that fight because you're getting up, you know, next to her, versus like a staff where you can get a little bit more distance. But when that blade's coming to you, you want to make sure that you know where you're blocking. Because I have had a finger turn purple. We pair up quite a bit just because, you know, we're in the same household. We can practice a lot, but we've had some purple fingers and
bruise sides.
Yeah, just because we forgot that block and that's where they were striking. But I mean,
I heard broken finger too.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Well, I got a quick question here for Randy from the chat. Do you only teach lightsaber forms, or do you teach other weapon forms like saber pikes and the like?
When you get into the more exotics, so that would be the tonfas, the saber staffs, the pikes, the dual wielding, which Linda does. We don't really teach it as much as we use it. There are some forms that we're trying to adapt to that. There is some training that we do for that. It's more of, you know, come in here, we're going to learn this together kind of thing. All the forms, the traditional Jedi forms, like martial arts forms, are more for single saber. All the ones that I've seen are more for single saber. But Saber Guild groups around the world have kind of adapted them for exotics, so pikes or staffs or whatever, or doubles. But to answer the question, we train with them, we put them in our shows. As far as forms, we don't really have them. We create them as we go, kind of thing. So just kind of jumping in, and was that the only question, Tim, on the chat?
Yeah, so far, yep. But
Okay.
Keep going then.
So jumping in and finish answering the question, Charles, as our local stage director, he does 99% of our choreography writing, and his shows are amazing. What you see on stage and what you see our temple do, that's Charles. As you said, each individual fighter then takes it and puts their own flair onto it. And by I mean flair, sometimes I physically mean flaring of the saber to add into it. But there are times that, you know, we get it, like getting ready for Awesome Con and getting ready for Celebration. We were going to perform in Anaheim. As the director, I said, Charles, I want a fight that can show off what you can write and the skills of this temple, which would be me, Linda, and Box were three, and one other person, Jara, who's one of our members, we're going to Celebration. I kept unfolding pages. It was a 4-person fight, and he handed it to us on this 11x17, multiple pages, and I just kept unfolding paper. And here's his entire fight, and we're like, so
Color-coded.
Huh?
Color-coded.
Color-coded.
Everybody had a color. There was green, yellow, blue, and red.
There's a picture of us on the first practice where we literally just sat on the floor of the gym doing a table read of that fight because we gotta figure out what this thing is. And it's a beautiful fight. I'm not going to spoil anything because we're still going to fight it. We're still going to do that fight. I know Box really wants to do that one. I do too. It's a wonderful show. It was a great story. So going into practicing, consider it like being in a sports team or a marching band or a dance troupe or a theater, a Broadway show. You start slow, you start small. You add, you build up speed. That's how we do it. The show we performed at AwesomeCon, we were preparing for that back in October, November last year when we first started conceiving it. And then for Ocean City, we started practicing that about 7 months ahead of time. So our shows take a while to put together, and they're multifaceted. Yep, that right there. They're multifaceted. So you have all the individual portions coming in there. Then you have the broader story for everything, the narrations. Then we have to go to full production of audio tracks, recording, music selection, building the actual audio files, adjusting lighting, stage directions, plus all the audio visual aspects of it. It is a full-time production putting it all together, but it starts back at the practice. Anybody that's ever been in a marching band or a competition type of organization, repetitive over and over and over again. I'm pretty sure the temple was mad at me getting ready for Ocean City because, all right, off stage, we're doing it again. We're doing it again. It's 20 degrees outside. Nope, we're going outside. Put your boots on. Because we couldn't wear our boots on the gym floor.
Yeah, I hear you.
Repetition.
I'm sorry. One thing I was just going to add is experience from the past organizations that tried to do this, we tried not to do. And one of the things that we do in our organization is if you practice, you perform, regardless of the level of skill. And that's a big difference between previous groups and other groups, where other groups, I mean, only if you made it to a movie quality performance would they let you performance. And 80% of people will never get that good.
We are the everyman's performance group. We don't really do like a, what do you call it when, like a cattle call or anything like that.
Casting call.
Yeah, casting call. If you can show up, you can perform, you know, if you want. You know, as long as you are there, you're dedicated, and you're approved.
Fantastic. I do want to cut into some of the training now that you guys do, especially the Saber Guild's Kid Lightsaber Training Program. I believe it's gone via Zoom now and online via YouTube videos. Randy, could you go into a little of that?
Yeah. So one of the unique things that Saber Guild does internationally and inside the U.S., we have an established curriculum of kids lightsaber training. It is an interactive program that we do with kids. So it consists of a Jedi teaching the basics of the Force and lightsabers, teaching form number 1, Shisho, teaching some basic blocking stuff. So our temple, we go up to 20 kids. Some temples may do more, maybe less, depending upon what their tolerance is and capability. But we take the kids through it. We do the Jedi training. The Sith come in there. We have a little fun. Each kid gets to fight with a Sith for a second. Mom and dad get to take pictures. The kids love it. It is an absolute total amount of fun to go do it. The parents love it. The kids love it. Make great photo ops. And what it does is it makes an interactive program that we can schedule up, and we can bring a lot of people in and bring it into our world and reach back out to the community. Linda has been able to do it at a children's hospital. We performed at a Novus Children's Hospital during a Christmas party. We did kids training, and there were kids in patients that had medical devices there, but we still managed to do that training with the kids. It is an amazing, and like you mentioned, we did take it virtually back in the spring because due to the coronavirus, we weren't able to go do this, and we had a wild idea. It's like, well, let's take this virtually. And happy to say last weekend, we took 45 kids through virtual kids lightsaber training on Zoom. It's an amazing thing. It's something unique to Saber Guild that they have. We also, at Celebration, they were doing them every hour, every other hour in both English and Spanish. So they were doing it in multiple languages. Our South American temples were doing it in Spanish, and I think, definitely in Spanish. We're doing it in Chicago with multilingual versions of it. And believe it or not, we have an idea that we're starting to work on now about how to do it for the hearing impaired, bringing in a sign interpreter to kind of adapt that as well. So we're trying to evolve it even more past what we do. But I've never seen an unhappy kid come out of it. You learn a lot, and if you're ever a teacher in an academic environment with a 5-year-old or 6-year-old, all that applies to lightsaber training too. Except we're putting a foam bat in their hand, and they're going to be trying to hit the person next to them. It's all that stuff about trying to lead kids that it makes it so much fun, so unpredictable.
It is very unpredictable.
Very unpredictable.
That's part of the fun.
Nicole is actually last weekend qualified as a Sith instructor. So she got her full qualifications last weekend. And then Box, we did it in Philadelphia together. They love Mace Windu. Oh my God, the kids love Mace Windu. And Charles did it in his alien mask. He did it as Master Deeb, as the Keldor. So we absolutely love it. It's a performance thing that is different. We talk about we're the everyman's organization. A lot of the other larger Saber organizations that isn't Saber Guild, they do a lot more sporting events. That's where their focus is. We will take it to the community. We will go do the small events. We will go do a children's hospital. This temple was founded back at that Starbucks meeting. This temple was founded that we are going to put lightsaber combat into the community, and we're going to be 5 feet away from you doing a saber choreography performance. Not to say we can't do
depending upon the length of your saber, maybe even a little further away.
Yeah, a little bit further out. That 8-foot stage at the hospital was a little on the tight side. Especially if you're doing saber staff, you need a lot of swinging room. But we're going to put that community in there. And if you're sitting 5 feet away from us, you're going to hear the sounds from the lightsabers. You're going to hear the sound effects, and you're going to hear the blades hitting. And we're going to get in your face with a truly Star Wars story.
That's incredible, and I know I love going to Disney and watching the kids get picked for the Jedi Temple. But I always I love that you're adding on to that if you weren't picked in the Jedi Temple, that you could add on and do a kids training program, because I know that they only take a certain number, and they're all waiting like, oh, to take me just so I can kneel in front of Darth Vader. But it's a wonderful experience. I do love seeing that at the parks. Charles, could you go into oh, sorry.
We will do kids training sessions. We will do as many of them as needed to until we run out of kids or we get kicked out of the space where we're doing it in. We will just keep doing it until one of those two things happens.
I absolutely love that. And then, Charles, could you talk a little about how do you join? Like, how do you get involved in this? Is it more than just a website or a Facebook group? How do you get in contact to, say, get the Zoom meetings and everything else?
Actually, Reddy would probably be better qualified for that.
Sorry. Sorry about that, Randy.
I'm going to pass the baton on to him.
Okay.
Fantastic. Sorry.
Baton? What's a baton?
Okay. Sorry. Saber.
There we go.
Toss it.
There we go. So kind of get into that. We, like the other groups, have recruiting pages. We have a Dathomir Temple Perspective members from the DC and Maryland. One of my other jobs, besides being the director of Dathomir Temple, is I'm also the regional membership advisor, or RMA, for the Southeast United States, which includes Virginia. Every state and some of the metropolitan areas, like Atlanta, they have recruitment pages where they're trying to start up Saber Guild Temple. So start there, find that Facebook group, figure out where they are, and then if it's already an established temple, come to a practice. Join the group, come to a practice, come see what we do. Everybody here will nod up and down. I strongly urge you, don't go put money into a saber. You're going to spend $100 plus on it. Come see what it's all about, and if it's something you want to do. It's physical, it's hard work, it's time consuming. Do what you need to do.
Very rewarding, very rewarding.
Do what? Yeah, it's very rewarding. It's one of those, it's super rewarding, and it's a family like no other. I am a member of every other Star Wars club except the Mandos, but I'm working on that. I know what Nicole's going to say. It is a family like no other because of that esprit de corps of performing together. When you walk off the stage, yeah, you've accomplished something. It's big. You've worked 6 months for this show, and you just pulled it off. Yeah, that creates a camaraderie that is second to none. I can only relate it back to the athletic teams and the marching bands I've been in. That's the only thing I can relate it to that has that similar. And Box was also in the college marching band too. It's something you can only have there. But that's the main thing. Join one of the perspective groups on Facebook. Reach out to us on social media. If you don't know, if you live in an area, I know this is going out across the lands, across the galaxy, reach out on Saber Guild's global page and we'll make sure we find you a place and we'll get you hooked up with either a local group trying to start or an established temple. So I will jump off to the other parts. I'll digress now.
Yeah, if we could kind of wrap up here, just a quick speed round. Charles, anything to add?
I've been doing this since 2011, and the last 2 years have probably been the best time that I've had doing this, being in Dathomir Temple in Saber Guild. I met Saber Guild back in 2012 celebration, and they impressed me. And I was still with another group, and I was just like, wow, we should aspire to be like him. And then when things fell flat, I jumped immediately over to Saber Guild.
Mm-hmm. You made it happen.
Yeah.
Yep. Ed, anything from you, sir?
No, just hey, if you want to come and perform in your costume and you got a good work ethic and you like kids, come to Saber Guild. That's all I can say.
Fantastic. Nikki, you get the last word.
Do it.
All right.
Do it.
All right, join us. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, thank you so much for this panel. It's been enlightening. I know I'm going to still love seeing you guys at Celebration. It's going to be a great time. Celebration Anaheim. So I look forward to your show there. 7 months of work. So I can't wait to see it, and hopefully meet you all at various troops and various cons. So great meeting you all, and thank you so much. All right, we're now gonna. Yep.
Good luck with the rest of the convention.
Thank you so much.
Good luck.
We're now.